setting this week. We're actually staying at my parents' house this weekend, and I'm finally pulling the trigger and reading Sunrise of the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, infamous for the Hunger Games. This is the little works edition that we picked up a couple of months ago when it first came out, and they had the big sort of release with the works. I've got my Sunrise of the Reaping bookmark, and I've actually got my t-shirt, which I'll probably wear tomorrow for District 11. So if I get into the spirit of things, I'll wear that tomorrow. But I thought I would do a little reading vlog this weekend, give you some of my thoughts, and yeah, capture the journey of reading Hunger Games. Getting a little visitor. Here's Weasel. So yeah, we are up early. It's 11:15. We got up nice and early this morning. We went to the bakery to get some little treats for later. I got a nice coffee, and we also picked up the strawberry new sandwiches from M&S. So we're going to try those, see what they're like. Yeah, we're going to have a nice weekend. It's muggy already. We've walked the dogs. So my hair is looking pretty frizzy. Needs a wash tonight. But yeah, let's jump into the vlog. Here's our little bakery treats. Here's my little ice bun. And then we've also got little cream cakes for everyone later. And let me show you the sandwiches. Ta-da! The Red Diamond strawberry and cream. So they're like the Japanese sweetened sandwiches. So we'll see what they're like later. I think Darren's already outside enjoying the weather. Oh, there's Madam. You okay, Winnie? You okay, hun? We're gonna sit out there. I might actually get one of the recliner chairs and enjoy. I mean, it's cloudy, but it's getting hot. Where's Blue? Here's Boosh. Say hi. I'm hot already. I'm so hot. I've got my cake. I'm about 10 pages into the book, and so far really enjoying being back into the Hunger Games world, aren't we, Woo? Yes, she's like, please can I have some of that? Please. So I'm about 10 pages in of the book, and I already have lots of thoughts. So I'm really liking how quickly they bring you into the world, the Hunger Games world, District 12 again. It's nice to be back in District 12 as opposed to the last book, which is obviously set in the capital, and you get to straight off the bat learn about Haymitch. He's 16, it's his birthday, it's the 50th Hunger Games and reaping on the day of his birthday, and this time 4 kids are going to be picked rather than 2, or 4 tributes. We're leading up to the reaping, and we find out, you know, Haymitch's mum was a single mother. He's got a younger brother, and there's a lot of Katniss similarities coming up already. He helps this lady sort of do underground work to produce liquor in the district, so I guess that's where he possibly gets into his alcohol seemingly addiction. And yeah, just really nice to be back in. And I would say you probably do have to read Songbirds before this one, because they talk about the bards, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, and the Coveys, and like Haymitch's best friend. It's a cousin of the Everdeens. So there's a lot of links to obviously previous characters who we've seen throughout the 4 books now. So yeah, I keep reading and let you know what I think a bit later on. We're about 50 pages in now, and we've had the reaping, and they called out, now spoilers, so if you've not read it and plan to skip out, they called out the second name and it wasn't Haymitch, and I was confused because I thought this was his games. Then obviously the boy got shot and they pulled Haymitch up, so that was new. I've tried to avoid like all spoilers of this, like even about the casting, so really going into it bland. And it's just interesting to see how they used to do the reaping compared to what it is in obviously the Hunger Games. They don't go into the glamorous train, they're like thrown in a back carriage, and Plutarch is there trying to capture all the family stuff, and him and Lenore, I think that's how you pronounce this girlfriend's name, Lenore, not sure, deny them of the goodbye, so they like defy the capital, which is a running theme obviously within this. Drop it. No. Winnie. So if I'm honest, I'm not much further along than from when I last left you, about 60 pages in now. They've got to the capital, they're being like taken in to be examined, and yeah, we've had an interesting little fight scene between Maiseli and is it Drusilla? They're kind of mental but kind of not. So that was an exciting part of the book, and yeah, they're just going for their examinations. Haymitch and Luella are looking like they're going to team up, and yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. Being a bit distracted just by the dogs and my mum and my aunt here, so just having family time as well, so not reading as quickly as I could do, but hopefully I'll get another chunk of this read tonight. I've snuck out with the strawberry sando. It smells nice. We shall give you our verdict. We'll eat it and then we will come back and let you know what we think. So we've had our strawberry sandwich. What did you think, Darren?
It wasn't, it was nice. It just wasn't sweet enough.
Darren didn't think it was sweet enough. I think the bread let it down. I think that should have been fluffier and without the crust, a bit more like the Japanese do, so that was just our take. It was nice though, but I don't think we'd run out to rebuy it. We're going to take the dogs for another walk in a minute.
I think it's good for like picnics, like if you're going out
if you're going on a picnic and want like strawberries and cream, you know, scones, that sort of thing.
Or lazy.
That's what it would be nice and easy to go strawberries and cream. Here's my Baloo. You okay? You okay, hun? Yeah. I'm going to read a bit more of my book before we take them on a walk. So it's 9 o'clock. We've just come in from being outside and I'm about to go and wash my hair, so I'm feeling a little grubby, but I thought I'd update you on the book, how it's going. I'm about 100 pages in now, and really it's getting into it now. We're at the point of training. We've had the chariot parade, and it was really sad that Luella died. That was kind of unexpected so early on, and obviously we had this ally that we thought was going to happen. So yeah, we're now in training. A little scuffle had happened at the training, but yeah, we've got 2 great mentors now. So obviously District 12 only had like 1 previous winner, I think. So we've got Wyrus, who was from District 3, and we find out a little bit more about the arena that she was in, and it was all like silver and mirrored when she won the previous year. And then we also have from District 4, we have Mags. So both of these characters we know from Catching Fire. And obviously, so Mags is younger than what we see her in Catching Fire, but she brings that sort of motherly warmth to the training and the mentoring. So yeah, really getting into it now. I might do one more update a bit later on when I'm in bed, finishing up for the evening. I'm doing my final update for the night. I've finished part 1 in the book, and so we went through all of the training a bit, and we actually found out that Amper, from one of the other districts, his dad is actually BT, who we've seen quite a lot through the Hunger Games, and obviously won his year and is a mentor for this year, and obviously being a mentor for his son, which I think is wild. Like, how unlucky is that? We maybe think maybe it's not so much of a coincidence, we're not quite sure, but obviously BT had done some stuff to try and sabotage the capital, so he's being punished by having to like see his son in his final moments. So there was that, and so then when they're on their way back from training, President Snow takes Haymitch aside, much like he did with Katniss. We're seeing a lot of similarities between them, whether that's because they're similar characters or because obviously growing up in District 12. So there was that, and then President Snow is ill. Like, there's some strange bit where he's just like throwing up everywhere. So trigger warning if you have emetophobia. And then he's like, oh okay, you can come in now, and in walks Luella. And that's where the end of that part finishes. So obviously we thought she was dead. He like left her at the bottom of the balcony for President Snow, and then they obviously came and took her away. So it'll be interesting to find out. I want to read more, but I think it's probably best to finish at a good point there tonight. So hopefully I can read a chunk more tomorrow, and I will see you in the morning. Good afternoon, guys. It is Sunday and I'm in my Sunrise of the Reaping top. So I got this from the works when I bought the book. If you saw that book haul earlier in the year, you'll know about it, and it kind of felt fitting to wear it for a little bit of today. And so I've picked up the book again, and we're in the second part now. And obviously we left off last night with Luella walking in, and picking up the book this morning I kind of instantly thought, well, she obviously is some sort of mutt or something like that, that they've obviously cloned and made her look like Luella so they can carry on with the games as normal. But I don't think she is. I think she is a girl that they found from another district, and they've like drugged her and told her what to do. So yeah, I am going to continue reading outside. It's a lovely hot day, and yeah, I will check in with you a little bit later. About 40 pages today, so not as much as I wanted to, but we are at the point of the interviews with Caesar Flickerman, so that's exciting, getting to learn about all the new outfits. We've had Effie be introduced for the first time, so we're not only really getting Haymitch's story in this, we're getting a lot of the other characters, so Effie, BT, Mags, Wiress, like we're learning more about their backstory as well, which is cool. So BT is still sort of trying to help his son and Haymitch to overthrow the stadium once they're in there, bring it down, and so yeah, it's really like ramping up its, you know, really quick page turner because we're already introduced to most of the characters already. Like, it's really, really good. So I want to at least get to the second or the third part tonight. So I've got probably like another 50 pages to read, and yeah, I'm going to try and read as much as I can before dinner, and then we're going back home tonight, and hopefully I can read some more in bed. And this vlog will continue like through the week, so I will keep on updating you sort of as I finish it one evening this week. So we're at the end of the first day of the games, and they've just shown all the tributes that have died on the first day, and we've just found out that Wyatt has died, so the other boy from District 12, and Hamish says how he like doesn't realise how much like upset he feels, like he didn't realise he'd feel that way, and it's kind of the same for us as readers. Like, he wasn't the most lovable character, but because he's District 12 and that's who we're rooting for, obviously we feel like some sort of sadness for that. So yeah, I'm going to continue reading and see how we get on, but so far he has been tricked into thinking the river water is safe, and quickly learned that the stuff that he has in his supply bag that he managed to get from the cornucopia is more valuable than he first thought. So yeah, it's really like picking up the pace, and it's difficult because like it's difficult from like reading the first 3 Hunger Games because like you have no idea what's going on. From this, obviously we know Hamish comes out of it alive, but obviously we're like, at some point all the other characters that we've got to know, including Amber, who I think is going to be like the Rue of these games, you know that one by one they're all going to get picked off. So that's, you know, heavy on your heart like reading this. And also I'm also thinking like Lenore, like she's not really mentioned in the Hunger Games, and we never see her in the Hunger Games. So does she come out of this games like back at home okay, or are the Capitol going to do something and kill her off at some point? I don't know, I just have a bad feeling about that. Saw was of me reacting to the end of the second part and finding out what was going to happen to Ampert, and that I kind of saw was going to come, but I didn't think it would be so early on in the book. But yeah, that was a sad moment. Not as sad as like previous Hunger Games moments, but we knew that Ally was going to be a strong bond there because of Beetee. So yeah, I'm not going to read any more tonight, so I will pick up tomorrow when I read inevitably some more, and yeah, we'll close off this part for the weekend. So it is now a few days later since the last bit. It's actually Friday. I haven't read any of Sunrise on the Reaping at all this week. I think because I want to have enough time to sit and like fully read it, so I haven't read anything. But I've just picked it up again this evening, and it was kind of a little bit of a lull after Ampert dying. His foiled plan to like flood all the equipment kind of didn't work out very well, so it was a little bit of a lull, and then all of a sudden he runs in to Panache, I think is his name, and the careers, and gets into a fight, and then obviously Maceley comes along to the rescue, and we've got a new partnership that's happened now, an allegiance. So I've got about 100 pages left of the book, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. You know, at some point Maceley is going to die. Does he end up turning on her? Does she get killed by something else in the arena? I don't know where this is going. So yeah, the only thing we do know is obviously Hamish will come out of it surviving, so I'm gonna keep reading and catch up with you when something else exciting happens. we've just got to the ladybird bit. The ladybird bit in the maze. If you know, you know, and that is why I am pulling this face.
So he goes, me and Shazam, we're going to go back to England and we're going to go do something. A couple of things for the brothers. He said, keep away, brother.
So I know this is a really harsh light, but I've come to bed because I know it's going to get good. Apologies if you can hear that sound. It's our little aircon unit. But yes, so I'm down to probably the last 50 pages now. It's heating up between Haymitch and between Silka, and they're like battling it out. So yeah, when Welly got killed, I was like, this is going to ramp up now for the end. So yeah, I think he's going to try and lure her into the maze and kind of use that to his advantage. And yeah, I've just read the bit where they get to the other side of the maze where he's like come to the generator again, and I think he's gonna like throw something in there to bounce back at her and like catch her out. And I feel like they mentioned something about that later on in the actual Hunger Games trilogy, about like using a force field. I can't remember which book specifically. Like, if you're a die-hard Hunger Games, you're probably shouting it out, but my memory is like so crap when it comes to things like this. But obviously, even the first or the second, they used, was it the second? Where they threw something at the force field and kind of use it to their advantage. So I feel like this is kind of where that idea originated from. So yeah, let's keep reading and see what happens. I'm at the end of the chapter where he thinks he's died because of the explosion. But obviously he doesn't, but like, I felt like if you read this freshly new into it without knowing about the Hunger Games, like, this could be a standalone book. Like, I can imagine that would just be like, wow, of a moment, thinking he's gonna die, oh my gosh, that's the end. But obviously we know what happened, so that's the only problem with the prequel. I'm now like, what is this whole chapter afterwards? Is he dreaming? Like, he's in some hospital? Like, it's like some alternative universe. I just had a thought, so I thought I would tell you while I remember it. Earlier, when they were all like talking about, him and Macy Lee were like, oh, let's find the other newcomers, let's team up with them. Like, what is their plan? Why is that a good idea? Because the Capitol was not going to let a group of kids just stay alive. Like, they'll end up killing them off one by one, whether it be through mutts or other things that they release. So I don't see what the benefit of that is. Obviously they can all come together and it's a friendship, and they're not going to have like be killed by another person, and they can be like put out of their death quickly if someone sees it. They're being like targeted by something. But I don't understand, like, what is the point of that? Like, I never understood it with the careers either. Yes, like strength in numbers, but at some point they would still have to like pick each other off one by one to be killed. So I don't know. And I feel like Haymitch was like so close to like getting everything back. Like, he had won the games. He could have just gone back, and he would have gone back as a victor. He would have lived in a nice house, and him and Lenore would have been together. And obviously he wants to be sort of the symbol and try and overthrow the government. And then obviously he bombed the generator. But yeah, the simple thing in most people's eyes would have been to, okay, you've won, go back home to your safe housing and just carry on. But from this book we can see he is so very similar in way of thinking and mentality, like Katniss was. Like, there are so many similarities in what they want to do for their family, what they want to portray, yeah, what they want to present to the outside world. and how they want to overthrow the government. So yeah, super close to the end now. I've got about 30 pages left, I want to say, so I'll pick up just as I get towards the end. So they've just taken him back to District 12, and they've taken them back with the coffins of the other tributes from 12 that died, and he's like rounded the corner and he's seeing a fire, and he's seeing his house on fire, and I think his mum and brother are being burnt. I don't like it. It's like we've had all of these people get lost, and then he doesn't get any slither of niceness at the end of it, I feel, and I think that's probably what attributes to his drinking problem. And obviously in the later books we never hear of any family or anything, so I can only assume that they're going to die. I feel something bad is really about to happen with the gumdrops. Tiny tear, tiny tear. Bloody snow. Just when you think, like, obviously when we had Ballad of Songbirds or whatever, you think, oh yeah, I could kind of get behind Snow a little bit, I could kind of like him a little bit. No I can't. How awful. I just knew that he would go back and they would kill them off to teach him a lesson. It's like, you can understand why he ended up the way he did in the Hunger Games, because he'd lost everything. And I've still got 20 pages to go. So the epilogue is really sweet. It goes back and it talks a little bit about Peter and when he first saw Katniss and her dad, and obviously he mentions again and kind of sums up that Macaulay was the original owner of the Mockingjay pin, and it gives that its backstory of where it came from. Just, this book is so good at giving you some backstory. My battery's about to run out, my memory card is about to die, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I'm going to have to reread the last couple of pages again because I need to cement it in my mind. But so I've just reread the last couple of pages again just to really solidify like some of what happened in the end, and just like that 1.5 pages of epilogue, nearly 2, just gives us so much like closure on certain things, I guess. So obviously we go back to Peter and Katniss, and he says about how like Katniss reminds him of Luella, and he always used to call Luella sweetheart, and now he calls Katniss sweetheart, which I remember from the films. And then also Katniss then starts to breed and raise geese, and you know, obviously Haymitch is then reminded of Lenore and her geese. So yeah, that was really sweet, and I love how it came back to kind of present day of like the end of Mockingjay, and you know, we see them sort of still living their life, and he knows that his time will end soon because obviously he's drunk so much, he's damaged his liver. But yeah, it's nice how it brings it back to kind of present day from the end of Mockingjay. Okay, final thoughts. I promise before I wrap up the end of this video. I keep like coming back in to record more, but yes, final thoughts. I loved the arena. It seemed beautiful, and the way that it then panned out and it was like an eye, I think that's going to be super cool to see when they film it. And like, if from the last book, the last prequel, you had any like feelings or felt sorry for, or like tiny bit of like, oh, I feel sorry for President Snow, no, that gets dashed in this book. Not like it, we're back to hating him again and thinking like, how could anyone be so cruel? Like, okay, real final thought, I'm literally like getting ready to go to sleep. Will they film an epilogue? Will they do that? Because that could be the only scene where all 3 characters reprise their original role. I don't know. That could be a good little surprise ending, I feel. Fingers crossed. I'm going to put it in here now, so if I'm right in the theatre, I can go back to here. Yeah, I think that would be interesting. I've just looked at the casting. I think it's a pretty good casting. I'll be interested to see Ralph Fiennes playing Snow. Obviously, Elle Fanning is perfect as a young Effie, and I think Joseph Zada is pretty good for Haymitch, so I think it's going to be quite a good cast. Enjoyed this vlog, coming along with me as I read Sunrise on the Reaping, and I will see you very soon.